Time to start. Go live. All right, we're going to go live. And here we are. Why did that slip out of focus? Hello to all. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, and welcome to the traditional Thursday evening live stream. Sorry I didn't make it on Thanksgiving, but we went out to a restaurant with some friends, and so the day wasn't exactly the way I thought it was going to be, but oh well, I'm here. Here we are. Christmas this year, I think, is on a Sunday, if I've got my calendar correct. Yes, it's on Sunday. That means New Year's is on Sunday, too. Okay, welcome. Yeah, there was no notification until just a couple minutes ago. I did not put up a schedule for this until just a few minutes ago, so you may just be receiving the email now. I will do that as soon as this live stream is over. I'll put up a notification for next week's, for this coming week's, I should say. Okay, let's see. We've got Reed, AB8AS, McBride at 56, Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG. I'm assuming that you are either a eyeglasses man or an ophthalmologist. Hi, Dave from Sioux Falls, where it's 37 and cloudy. It's 45 now here. There's a front supposed to come through tonight. Hi, Dave. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving from Conrad, KN6VMK. Yes, I did. Thank you. No notification on YouTube tonight. Yeah, I'll try and set that up for this week. Maybe I'll set them up for the rest of the year. John Ward, hello from W3OJ in Laurel, Maryland. And greetings from Saskatchewan, VE5MCR. Season's greetings to all. Joe Tyson, hello, Dave from Apex, North Carolina. 36 Fahrenheit, that's cold for North Carolina. I guess you guys do get snow. You must be up in the mountains there. KM4WRQ. Alpha 57, hi Dave from another Dave, KC3NAB. Mike Parker, hi from KB4S in Richmond. Terry, hi Dave from London. Hope you're keeping well. I am. Thank you. It's almost 2 in the morning there, I think. Chris Wilson, good early afternoon from Sydney, Australia. Hello, how are you? Good to have you with us. Eddie K6SDW is with us. Hello from East Texas, Bob KJ5CF. You know, if I put on my glasses, I might be able to see these. The older I get, the less focal range I have on my glasses. Now I got to get back here. Hello from East Texas, Bob KJ5CF, Chuck Schreiber. Good evening, Dave and all Augies. N5KVO from the Hill Country of South Texas. Cooler weather here, currently 48. Jerry Inman, hello, Dave from KD6, VGB in California. Hello from Bob, K4WTA in Helena, Alabama. And Dennis says hi from Colorado. I'll wave. You might be right outside the window. Makita UK, yeah. Good evening from the UK, M7LTG. The good-looking one. Hello from Centerville, Ohio, 20 and clear. AC8XZ. JD Smith, N4 Victor India Lima, in Asheboro, North Carolina. I've been to Asheboro. It's a beautiful place. Mark Saunders, MM7PGL. Dave, it's the CW student from Scotland. It's my first full CW QSO today. Congratulations. Information, RSTQTH, weather operator name exchanged. I'll send a QSL card to the operator. I'm chuffed to bits, Dave, which is an English expression for being very happy about something. So congratulations, Mark, on your first full CW QSO today, and may you have many more. Taylor Hill, hello from Knoxville. I got the notification. Yeah, it was sent just a minute or two before we started. 32 in Knoxville. Hey, Dave from Middle Tennessee. Thanks for your videos from KE0OG. Rich, hi, Dave. Been practicing CW very diligently. Took your advice and found a study buddy, but was only able to make one QSO. Made a bunch of contacts since at 10 words per minute. Hey, that's great, but need to get my copy speed up. The best way to get your copy speed up is to do more of those on-the-air QSOs. Just do them one after another, and you'll get very good at it pretty quickly. Glenn Martin, hello from far west Missouri area, 36 degrees, 39% relative humidity. Let's see, we're at 45 with 32% relative humidity, which puts the dew point kind of low at 17. Let's see. Okay, and Rich also expecting snow tonight here in Nevada. Well, that's unusual to get snow in Nevada unless you're living on top of a mountain. Of course, Reno gets snow. So, Casler is the GOAT. Great to see you, Dave. Evening, Dave, from John, KD7SWH in Portland, Oregon, currently 35. That's cold for Portland. Glenn Martin, hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I did. Hi there, M446 from Manhattan, New York. Hello and welcome. Glenn Martin, Merry Christmas, N0QFT. Ralph, howdy from NETX from KF5WGB. Francis Moore, hi Dave from Birmingham, UK. New to your broadcast, well, welcome. What we usually do during this period of time is just chat with each other, and if you have any questions, put them in the chat room and I'll endeavor to answer them. If it's too complicated, I'll write it down and try and do it in a separate video. The big event for tonight, being the first Thursday of the month, is that we're going to do our drawing for the November giveaway. And the giveaway is this right here. It's from County Com. It's a shortwave radio, a little portable shortwave radio with lots of little features in it. It got good reviews. And so that's going to be that. I've got 4 more of these little dinky HF receivers. I have to look at them. Okay, let's see. Chris Wilson, great to hear. Lots of fun. I'm still pretty ordinary at CW, but get better every time I spend on the air. Yes. I listen to Morse Ninja stuff when I'm not able to get on the air. Well, good. Bob Horsch, his best wishes from N7RLV. Will mobile radio brownout caused by starting my car causing voltage drop damage your radio? So far I've been lucky. I try to avoid but forget sometimes. Radios don't like the voltage to drop too far because then it gets below the point where the microprocessor works, and that can be a problem. If you can, remember to turn it off before you use the starter. But these mobile radios are made to be mobile, so they're made to handle situations like this. So I think you're fine. Kevin Lehigh, K7EHQ from Gilbert, Arizona, is here. Past few days I've gotten many out-of-state QSOs with a 10-watt QRP radio. Yes, this is the great time of the sunspot cycle. Leo Gustafsson, howdy Dave and all Augies, KK7CLY, wishing everyone a great holiday season. Kevin Lehigh, also happy holidays to all. Thanks for doing this. Thank you, Chris, says Rich. Also, congrats, Mark, on your first CWQSO. Very good. Francis Moore, thanks, David. Chris Wilson, to Mark Saunders, MM7PGL, congrats and welcome to the CW Addiction. I was operating on an outcrop overlooking a marine park yesterday. I activated. Got a lot of interest in my CW from passers-by. Yes, that will generate quite a bit of interest. Let's see, I'm assuming you're not in Marine Park. Curious where that is. Okay. McBride says East Nevada, Reno, and Carson City and Dayton Valley will be getting snowfall. Jackstero729, hi Dave. Saw your clock at DX Engineering last Tuesday on our way to our daughter's home. Very good. That's the clock that's directly above my head there. That's on the wall. It's by La Crosse. I think it's 14-inch clock. And it checks in with WWV. Doesn't check in with it, okay. It listens for WWV-B. It's 60 kilohertz, and it adjusts to be exact, and I've noticed it's within a second of my GPS clock here. And when we went to daylight savings time, it adjusted automatically for that, which is very nice. I wish all clocks would do that. Okay, let's see. Lance, 73, VA6LAT. Rich says Tonopah 2. Supposed to snow all day Saturday as well. Wow. McBride, Dayton, Nevada is 34 degree with 92% relative humidity. So, go much higher, you get some fog with that too. Mark Saunders, MM7PGL. Thanks, Chris Wilson. It's great fun, but nerve-wracking. Yeah, I know, but you get used to it after a while. James Donchik, Mr. Casler, your videos are great, even though I'm not a ham, only GMRS. So happy that you're sharing your knowledge on YouTube for all to watch. I've got a lot to learn from you. My videos for Tech, General, and Extra training are on the ARRL website. The Tech are on the League's external YouTube page. They've got the General and the Extra inside on the League's page, so that's behind the League's paywall. But, you know, I used to sell those videos on a thumb drive for $49.99. It's actually 4 cents cheaper to just join the League. And then you get both the General and the Extra videos that way. So, so if you want to move beyond being GMRS, get your technician license and we'll get you going. And that's why I'm here, to help people make that transition, mostly from Tech to General and also to Extra. And I'm glad that you're learning things from the channel. It makes me feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. Edwin Marzan, hi Dave, thanks for the great videos. You are amazing. Jay Simons, hello Dave from JKI5KOI in Bossier City. How can I add a receive-only antenna to my ICOM 7300? With this. This is an earlier version. You want to get the current version. It's the MFJ 1708 SDR. And you can use these, and they have others similar. Give MFJ a call, or DX Engineering a call, or ham radio outlet. And basically what it does, it will switch in the other antenna when you're not transmitting. So when you push the push to talk button on the radio right here, it also shorts to ground on the back, marked as TX for transmit, shorts that to ground too. So when you push this, it will cause your amplifier to go into transmit. Or You can use that for about anything. It can cause this to switch you to another antenna. So that's how you connect the other antenna in, so that when you transmit, you're transmitting out through your transmitting antenna, and when you're receiving through the receive antenna. So you have to get a little accessory like that. Okay, I'm not sure if this is quite the right one. This allows you to attach an SDR receiver to it also. But that accessory is readily available. Okay, James, you can get it. Yes, Mark Saunders MM7 PGL. It is first time, but it gets easier. Sometimes I'll set up FL Digi to decode the CW I miss, especially when I have had the longer rag choose at higher speeds. Yeah. I know as I watch that decode the Morse, sometimes I'll be listening and go, oops, that was an error, But there are people who say that you should copy CW in your head and not on paper. That's almost a contradiction in terms. The term copying CW means exactly that. It goes in your head, and out your fingers with a pencil on paper. Okay, that's copying CW. If you're just reading it in your head, you're reading it, you're not copying it. Now, I recommend those who are getting into CW use lowercase cursive because it's much quicker to write cursive, and if you do just lowercase, you can tell everything you need to tell, just lowercase cursive, and then you can go fairly quickly. Now, I have never been good at finding word breaks in Morse code, even when a word break is properly sent. I often look at something and have to slightly decode it afterwards to put the breaks in mentally. Okay. K6SDW, our storm in Sacramento is headed your way. Lots of snow in the Sierras. Well, Eddie, I'm delighted that you're getting the snow in the Sierras because you need it badly. Walter, hello from Longwood, Florida. Chris Wilson, question, is there much difference between an antenna that is resonant with no reactive component versus a similarly sized antenna that has a reactive component, assuming they both match with the same SWR? In fact, the Navy did some studies on this a long time ago. A nice resonant antenna, it's almost impossible to put up a resonant antenna without some reactive component to it. I mean, when you get to zero reactance, that's the resonant point, but that's not always the same point as the lowest SWR, which can be a couple, 3 kilohertz away. It's just kind of the way the curves work, okay? If you get it resonant, you have 1-to-1 SWR, and so on. Now, if you shorten an antenna, like by half, or down to the length of a 4-foot rod or something, it makes the antenna very capacitive and non-resonant. So if you add what's called loading, it's coil, just a coil, to the thing, you can find the right tap on the coil to make the inductance match, except for the sign, the capacitance, and the two, it becomes a resonant antenna. Okay, now there are fairly significant circulating currents in such a device, popping energy back and forth between the reactive and the capacitive, or the inductive and the capacitive side. Okay, so if that's not a sturdy connection between the two, you can get some heat there from the resistive losses. But a lot of antennas work by having some reactance, some inductance down at the bottom, okay? And then that makes the assembly resonant. And the trade-off, because there's always a trade-off, right? The trade-off in that case is bandwidth. You put a higher Q in there because you've got a resonating reactive circuit. And because of the Q factor of that, it will make the antenna narrower band. So you may have to retune it for a different part of the band. It's a perfectly good way of doing it. And my experience has been that these antennas with the coil at the bottom and the very short stinger at the top, like ham sticks, work very well. They work very well. So yes, you can do that. You can make it shorter. The trade-off is bandwidth. Your antenna will not cover the whole band without retuning. Kind of the taken to the max part of that is a screwdriver antenna, which has a stinger up in the top, and then there's a motor down at the bottom that drives what's like a screwdriver to cause a little wheel in there to circle down the coil until you find the matching point. There are a number of ways of driving this. The cheapest is a little up-down switch, which can be very frustrating if you don't know where you're going. You can also do these automatic ones where you push a button and it will tune it for resonance. And then there's the truly automatic ones that have memories in them that allow you to read the frequency from the radio via cable, and then it will tune the screwdriver to where it needs to be. And that's very convenient if you're mobile. Okay, let's see. So, Chris, I hope that answers your question there. They both work well. Leo Gustafsson. At my work, a fellow driver mentioned that he had a budding interest in getting on the air. I passed him a copy of my HRO catalog and recommended your videos. And he says, you're not an Elmer. Well, you know a lot more than your friend. And you can also learn together. And the videos go with the book, of course. If you go to KE0OG, and I'm not even sure this is, let's see, KE0OG. Let's see, screen. KE0OG.net/training. Let's see if that still comes up. It better. There we go. Okay. Now, I have been told these links don't work anymore.
Hello, I'm Dave Casler.
Well,
amateur
that sure
radio
looks
call
like it
sign
works.
KE.
Okay, anyway, if you go to KE0OG.net/training or dcasler.com/ham-radio/training, you'll find this page here, Technician Class License, Online Help for your Self-Study. And here is the video to watch. This video will tell you that you're going to go get the ham radio license manual, which you can get from, here it is on Amazon. Let's see if that link still works. Yes. Okay. And you get spiral bound. I prefer the spiral bound myself. Is this the 4th edition? Yeah. Okay. So, and then the videos are a 1-for-1 match with each section in the manual. So you read the video, or I'm sorry, look at the video, read the manual, they match. So hopefully the video explains the parts that are a little hard to understand. Okay, so that should help you. Okay, let's see. Hello from Chattanooga, WA4BAK, N7VKH, snowing in Idaho. RE, Rich Emmerich, KG4FEF, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Dave, can I use a diplexer on my FT991A on one antenna to access all bands? Well, the FT991A will use you're talking about a diplexer. I think there's two connectors on the back, one for HF through 6 meters and the others for 2 meters and 70 centimeters. I do not know of a diplexer made especially for that case. But you can put up a dual band antenna very simply for that thing. You can get, I'm trying to think if I've got one here in the shack. Yeah, it's out in the garage. I used it for a video and then put it back out in the garage. But they're available from, let's go to MFJ and look for antennas. Scam is posing, do not purchase from the scammer. MFJenterprises.com. Okay. Now, why won't it search companies? Let's just go MFJ. And we're going to look for, search for 2 meter antenna and see what we have. Well, obviously, let's try VHF. Antennas. Here's a discone, which will work, although that's a little expensive. What I'm looking for is their vertical. Okay, let's put that up here. VHF vertical antenna. Oh, unfortunately, that picks up VHF or vertical antenna, or, Okay, there is a vertical, that's a 6 meter ground plane. Page 1 of 3. Page 2. That's too complicated. We don't want that. Collinear 2 meter vertical. Oh, come on. What I'm looking for is their very basic 2 meter vertical ground plane. That's not it. They have it. I know they have it. Why can't I find it? I do not like their new website. Their old website made it much, much easier to search. So anyway, you can call DX Engineering and say you need the little MFJ 2 meter, or make it double band, 2 meter 440, that has it's a vertical and it's got the radials out at an angle, and it's less than $50. And to mount it on the roof, you just take a pole or something and put it down one of the vent pipes on your roof and attach something so it'll only go so far down there, and that'll be fine for that antenna. And then you just feed that coax into your 2 meter 70 centimeter. Now, I will point out that FM work is vertically polarized, and that antenna I just told you about will work for that. If you're going to do what's called weak signal work, which is a euphemism for anything other than FM on the VHF bands. So if you want to do CW or moon bounce or meteor scatter or AM or whatever, it's all horizontally polarized. So it's just a weirdism in the way things are done. So I think that will help there. Let's see. Do you have any videos regarding the ICOM 705? I do not. I have not seen one. I don't have it. I suppose I could get one, but I guess I should pester ICOM to loan me one so I can look at it. A lot of people like it, but it's only about 20 watts, I think. Mike Burns, Mike K5MCB. Glad to be back in the U.S. Missed watching you live. Baseman Junior 100. KQ4ANV in Tennessee says hello. Harry Rundle says, good evening, Dave, from AC3EK. Harry in Overly, Maryland, 33 degrees and clear. Harry is one of my best supporters. I really appreciate the support that you've given me via Patreon and so on. Nobody has checked anything in chat revenue yet tonight, so we'll see how it goes. Leo said, cool, thanks, Dave. Tommy Helton, good evening, everybody from Alabama. Rob Horsch just got the ARRL 100 handbook in the mail today. Wow, what a great resource. Big book. Yes, 'tis. And I can't remember, did I order one of those? I might have. They put a lot of work into updating it. There's a lot of stuff that just carries over from year to year. And I suppose I should tell them about a couple things I think should be updated in the antenna section, having to do with now, what was the name of that big airship that burned up? Hindenburg. The Hindenburg created a vertical antenna that turned out to be a high frequency equivalent of an upside down J-pole. And the way it's explained in the handbook is a little unclear. And MFJ provides a 20 meter, what is in essence a J-pole. I mean, you put the radiating part of the antenna horizontally and then the feed line matching part down vertically, and it works really well. And there are other things you can do with it too. And I did a rave review on them because I thought it worked just absolutely fascinating. But they do have them. So cool on the book. Benjamin Otto, good evening, Dave. Did you have an enjoyable Thanksgiving? Yes. Turkey this year. My wife and I went with a couple neighbors, another senior couple, down to a restaurant in Montrose that was not taking reservations. And we had to stand in line outside a little bit, but when we got in, they had a buffet. And this is kind of a high-end restaurant, and it was delicious. And, you know, I just take a little tiny bit of everything, and it ends up my plate is overstuffed. They had so many things to sample. So I did the traditional, the turkey. I think my wife did the prime rib. I tried a little piece of prime rib. He wanted to give me a big piece, and I kept saying, no, smaller. No, cut that in half. Now cut that in half. And got a piece that I wanted. But it was just, we had a real good time with it. Let's see. Did you have an enjoyable Thanksgiving, salmon or turkey? Mark Birchall says, do you have any plans to interview William Shatner about being a film director and producer? He was actually the star. He was Captain Kirk on that. And about being the oldest man in space. For For some reason, it seems to me that that senator from Arizona, can't remember his name right now, went up. But anyway, of course, I'd love to interview him, but yeah, try and get on his schedule. I think they're going to just laugh and hang up the phone. If he were a ham, that'd be different. Phil Bodden says, good evening from the Cayman Islands. Hello. Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG, comet antennas have some good 2 meter/70 centimeter verticals. Okay, Jeff, thank you for that. We'll pass that on. Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG, has put $20 into the chat revenue. Thanks, Dave, for all the help and wisdom you give to all of us hams. Well, thank you very much. That money goes into chat revenue, which goes into channel funds. I suppose this doesn't come as much of a surprise to people, but I'm going to be backing away from aviation here. My wife is adamant I sell the radio, or the airplane. She didn't like the fact that I broke the front wheel off. By the way, the status on that is the insurance company, as soon as they got the estimate from the FBO, within about 15 minutes, they approved it. And they're going to send the money directly to the FBO so that, it takes out the time that it has to go through me, because I have to mail it to my credit union on the Front Range, and it has to wait to clear to deposit, and then I have to write a check for the people up at the FBO. So this will save some time. They are going to fully fix it. My little mishap. Now, remember, in ham radio, anything that you think you would buy or break, multiply by 10 to 100, and that's what an airplane costs. It's going to cost 10 grand to fix this airplane, but the insurance is paying all of it. There's no deductible. So I will be flying more. I'm not going to give up flying just because I broke a wheel off an airplane. But it is an awfully expensive hobby, and I need to back off a little bit and concentrate more on the channel. And I'll get some flying in. I'm not giving up my license by any means, but I think it might be time to move on from this aircraft. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I have nobody to blame for that hard landing except myself. I broke my airplane. It's not my airplane broke. It's I broke my airplane. Busted the front wheel off on a landing. And it did so without doing very much damage to the airplane. Although there's a lot of inspections that have to be done, new propeller, everything like that. That's a couple $1,000s right there. And the front wheel assembly and stuff. I think it'll come out okay. So yes, the insurance has been approved for that, and they're going to go ahead and fix that. I doubt I will see my airplane again this year. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so 3 Henry 21, the Diamond X200A, X300A, or Comet GP series, GP3, GP6, GP9 are great dual band VHF, UHF vertical antennas. And so go take a look at those on the Comet website, and you can buy them from DX Engineering or Ham Radio Outlet. You may have noticed that I have been pushing DX Engineering maybe a little bit more than Ham Radio Outlet. I mean, I've done a lot of business with Ham Radio Outlet. They're fine people. They rescued the old amateur electronic supply and have that going. Plus, Ham Radio Outlet has actual brick and mortar stores in several places across the United States. DX Engineering just has the one facility, but I talked to the boss there and I says, what is your supply chain philosophy? Do you sell something and then go get it? Or do you try to have everything in stock and then sell that way? And he said the latter. He tries to have everything in stock and sell from stock. So that's more expensive on his part to do that. So I think that's great, frankly. I did a video in the June time frame of my interview with one of the guys up at the DX Engineering store when I bought that clock that's right there. So, okay. Scott Gabler says, howdy, Dave. Heel rod. Do you need to have a ground rod if you only have your radio connected to an antenna when using and leave cable disconnected outside house? Very rocky ground at my home. I'm going to say yes. You need to figure out a way to get a ground rod. Now, if your house is built in very rocky territory, like, say, Arizona or New Mexico or something like that, there may be in your home somewhere, you'd find it in the basement or in the crawl space, something called an UFER ground, U-F-E-R. And look it up on Wikipedia. It actually exists. That's a real name. He was some PhD guy who was helping the Army after World War II build facilities in Arizona and New Mexico. And since they couldn't put the grounds in very easily, what he did when they laid out for a concrete pad for the building, he'd put a very long piece of rebar horizontally across it, bend the rebar up so it was available outside the pad. And then, since concrete, when you think about it, is rock, and it's in very good contact with the soil underneath, that's a really good ground. My hangar has an UFER ground. In addition to a regular ground rod. If your house has that, use that as your ground. Another thing you can do is dig a trench outside your home as deep as you can get it, which might only be 6 inches, okay? 6 inches, lay ground rod sideways in there. Cover it with earth, get it all tamped down. There's something that you can buy from the big builder supplies called ground enhancement material, or GEM, G-E-M, ground enhancement material, which can be mixed up like concrete and poured around the ground rod. Okay, now that'll get you half a ground rod because it can't go up on one side, it just gets one side. So you dig another trench the other way and do the same thing, and then bond those two ground rods together, and you'll have a fully effective ground, or should have. Okay, so that is something that you can do to get yourself a good ground. But why do I suggest you do that? First of all, you want to put a lightning arrestor there. Just because it's best practice, and I know you leave your cables outside, but if you have it there with the lightning arrestor, you have grounded the outside of the coax before it goes into your house. And that will drain off a lot of the common mode noise that comes in on the outside of the coax. I have a vertical out here, and it's actually grounded out there, the ground rod. And the LMR 400, no, it's actually Messian Paolini cable, comes in here. And I tried running it directly into the radio, and it was awfully noisy. And so I did an experiment. I grounded the cable to the ground rod, and the noise disappeared. I have S1 noise here because we're way out in the country. But the grounding can really help you with the noise. And so I would recommend that you do have a ground, and that you ground your station stuff to the same ground, and that you bond that ground to your utility ground along the lines of Ask Dave number 8, although Ask Dave number 8 doesn't cover lightning arresters. So, yeah, that's what I would recommend that you do for there, because it would really help. your home has to have a ground for the utility. And that could be the U for ground. So, depending on how they put that in, you would see it in the crawl space. If you have crawl space, if you have just a slab, it probably tucked inside a wall where you can't see it. But there will be a cable from your utility box going down to where that U for ground is. Cornbread, Dave, if you were building a directional 20-meter antenna, where would you buy the parts? By the way, the 120-foot Roan 45 tower went in one tower. Okay, well, if you've got a 120-foot tower, DX Engineering started as a place where you could obtain aluminum piping and stuff like that you would use for making an antenna like that. If you're talking about building a Yagi from scratch, the ARRL antenna book will tell you how to do it. There's probably a project in the handbook, and you can get lots of directions online, or you can buy it. There are a number of vendors that sell very good antennas. In this case, DX Engineering would be your best bet. And I would recommend that you call them and say what you want to do and ask them for suggestions. They may say, look, it's actually cheaper to purchase a ready cut antenna that you can assemble at home. And you're going to need a cherry picker or something to get it up on top of the tower. There are ways of getting up there with pulleys and gin poles and stuff like that. But boy, I tell you what, get a bunch of people. Do not ever do tower work by yourself. Have somebody there, a safety officer. The sole job of the safety officer, even if it's your wife, is to call 911 in the event of a mishap. That is the sole responsibility. If a safety observer is helping you and has both hands wrapped around the rope, they can't very well call 911 if there's a problem. So if you need another helper, get another helper. Get your neighbors over. Get the club over. Hire a company to do it for you. Believe me, with the popularity of cell phones, there are many companies that install towers for living. They're quite expensive. I got a bid for a 50-foot high tower here with, I think, the Roan 45. And just for the tower and burying the cable was $30,000. Needless to say, I did not accept their bid. That was maybe 10 times what I was hoping it was. Towers are expensive. Make sure that your tower is properly guyed every 20 feet, I think it is. There is a book put out by the League on building towers, and it tells you a lot about the tower. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I'm looking for it. No, I don't see it. Sorry. I was actually considering a tower at one point and started researching them and discovered how dreadfully expensive they are. So I didn't go with the tower. I do have a gain antenna, and that's a hex beam from MFJ. And it is a marvelous antenna. It's 20 through 10, all 5 bands. And I don't remember if it has 6 meters. I don't think so. But marvelous antenna. It's semi-permanently installed. There's a base plate for it that a friend of mine welded together. And then the pole is aluminum Schedule 40 pipe, 1 or 1.5 inches, something like that, probably 1. No, I think it's more than that, 1 1/4. And it's a single piece of pipe. And of course, it's guide at the top, and I've got a rotator up there and all that. I mean, when you undertake to build a tower, count the cost before you do that, because you will be surprised how expensive it is. Okay, where would I buy the parts? So DX Engineering is a great place. Leo Stanton Town, thank you, Dave. I'm just getting back in ham radio. After a 55-year layoff, you've been essential. KE0OG, well, thank you. Tom Cowart, good evening, Dave. First time to connect with you. Hello from sunny and warm Southern California. What's your favorite Christmas dessert? Well, it's not fruitcake. I know there are a lot of things that are very good. I frankly like pumpkin pie. There's also, well, really about any kind of pie would be nice. It's not a good time of year for strawberry shortcake, but I'll do that in the summer. So, Tom, welcome to our gathering. We do this every Thursday night. We chat, and if you have a question, I will try to answer it. Martin Burchall, that was Buzz Aldrin. Captain Kirk. William Shatner, went up in the one that's not Musk's. It was a suborbital flight. The founder of Amazon, he put together an enterprise which sends people into space. They're technically in space because they passed the Kármán line. Okay. But they go up, they come down. Whereas Musk did a flight with some people and actually gave them 3 orbits of the Earth. So it was actually an orbital flight, which is a very significantly harder achievement than suborbital flight. But William Shatner was one of the riders on that early flight. Jeff Bezos, his company. It was Jeff Bezos. Okay, let's see. Heel rod, I was told you could bury an 8-foot ground rod horizontally 2 feet deep. That's what I did. Yes, you can. That will help. Now, a ground rod needs about 6 feet all the way around it. If you put another ground rod within 6 feet of it, the two act as though they're the same ground rod. Okay? So you want to get the other ground rod out of the area of influence of the first if you want to expand your grounding. Okay, so you bury it 2 feet deep, that's really good and probably good enough for you. If you want to go whole hog, you can dig another hole on the other side of where they come together and add that additional one to it. Okay, let's see. Colin and VK, good day from South Australia, VK5COL. Ed Fry, good evening, Dave, and all from N3EDF in Pennsylvania at 27 clear degrees. Michael Stanley, good evening from Rapid City, South Dakota. KF4NTG, Heel Rod is smiling. Ronald Jorgensen, Denver here to thank you. I doubt I could go 2 feet. Well, with this, what do they call those, jackhammers? Hey, Dave, just got a new truck. Any issue installing 2 different UHF VHF rigs in the same vehicle? Not really, but you do have a problem. You want to make sure that you don't overload the other one. Most rigs are designed for being fairly near other rigs. Anytone 578 for DMR. I've got one of those right here, right behind the OG as well. Here's the microphone cable from it right there. You can do it, but The Anytone D578 will do both 440 and 70 centimeter FM and DMR. Now the FTM 400 XDR would be what, a Yaesu, and I'm thinking, and would be C4FM. Colin and VK, one on each side, would be plenty of room. Doug Taylor, get the chat revenue into 7 figures and get a citation with a pilot. No, I want to fly it myself. Glad you are okay from the rough landing. Oh, I didn't have a problem at all with that. I was quite surprised by it, but I just literally walked away from it. So, I mean, I just made sure once I was down, everything was turned off, the fuel was turned off, and the main power and the magnetos were off, so that there was no electrical power to anything. Didn't know your pilot. Current rating, I'm a sport pilot. I'm working on my private. Good for you. Keep at it. You're right, though. Aviation and radios are expensive. Yes, they are. Now, see, as a sport pilot, it's just for recreation. A private pilot could be for recreation, but private pilot, from that you can advance. And a lot of the younger private pilots are on the airline track. The airlines are desperate right now to hire pilots. So a lot of people start getting on the airline track. I lost an instructor that way. He got a slot with one of the airlines and went off, and he was really good too. Okay, it was an effort for me for sure. Very rocky ground. Would never be able to further down without hitting a boulder. Yeah. Dave, are the operating temps that are listed in the manuals for mobile radios correct? Living in South Dakota, it gets 20 to 30 degrees below zero. Would you take your radio in all winter? I wouldn't. Because it gets warm in the car from time to time. So in satellites other than case ground, what happens there? Yes, that is what you do. Now, remember that satellites are subject to being in the solar wind if they're in medium or high Earth orbit or geostationary. They're in the solar wind, which means they're constantly being bombarded by charged particles. And the satellite can pick up quite a charge doing that. So there's usually some device on there that looks like a little thing that spreads out with fingers and stuff that can carry that charge away. Okay, because it's not good to get a satellite all charged up. You start getting high static voltages on integrated circuits and so on. Space is not easy. I have a book over here. Where do I have that? This was an attempt by the U.S. Air Force to put in one volume a handbook of the geophysics and space environment. Okay, and it is Air Force Geophysics Laboratory, Air Force Systems Command, United States Air Force. It would be the Space Force now. This book, which is a couple thousand pages, was put together in 1985. Okay, so this is an old book. And this is how much we learned about space in 1985. It just goes on and on and on and on and on about everything they had learned about space at the time, which was quite a bit. They've learned even more now. So I keep this book as a souvenir of my time in the Air Force. Let's see. Whoops. So in satellites other than case ground, what happens? Well, yeah, they've got to get rid of the static charge somehow. Thanks, Dave. Great idea. Thank you so much. Hey, guys, from DJ Jackson. Scott Gabler. I augured a Cessna 152 in the ground in Pontiac, Michigan, December 3rd, 2003. Was trapped in that contraption. Engine mags failed and we couldn't stretch the glide. Lived through it. Keep Flying Dave. Gabler. Okay, not Gabler. Gabler. I'm surprised both sets of mags failed at the same time. That you have two systems failing at the time. Of course, there's always some point in common, right? Well, I'm glad you were able to get through that. That can be a very frightening experience. In December 2003, Pontiac, Michigan, I imagine the ground was pretty close to frozen too. Giebler. Good evening, Dave from W3IG in Delta, Pennsylvania. And Andrews, I was foolish in my younger days, climbed an 80-foot several times a month to play with antennas with no help. Yeah, all it takes is one time, one problem. Posey Tower, Enid, Oklahoma, self-supported to 60 feet. You know, they will do that. In Florida, they changed their building codes to demand hurricane-proof towers because there are so many towers with the cell phone stuff. And so these are towers, meaning they can withstand 150-mile-an-hour wind. And you can get those, and they're self-supported. Most cell towers are self-supported. So, Posey Tower, Enid, Oklahoma, self-supported 50 feet, 36 by 36 by 36 concrete slab. Is that feet or inches? Inches, that's not enough. Feet, I would believe, well, it wouldn't necessarily need to be 36 feet deep, but certainly big. Tilled up into place, yep. What Mr. OG says is good advice. You hear tower disaster stories on Newsline every year, often with tragic conclusions, yes. Wheat Capital Communications is the POC, point of contact. Okay, thank you for the ARRL video today. Oh, that must have been the one where I interviewed the president of the ARRL. James has been working until now. Bezos, yes. Ram has paperwork telling how to do the tower. It covers everything, the amount of everything needed. I put up towers, and their paperwork is very good. Well, once you get the tower up, you got to add the rotator. You've got to add the mast, and then you've got to add the antenna and any structural support that needs. You need to put in all the wiring and so on, and lightning. You want ground rods on every corner of that tower. It's a lot of work, yeah. Let's see. Hammer drill with chisel bit. Yeah, that's what do they call that? The bang, 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 bang things. Yeah. Good evening from Temecula, California. Francis, more fascinating. Dave, have to go now. Look forward to your next broadcast. All the best. It means we need to do the drawing, don't we? Posey Towers are next most oil and gas wells in northwest Oklahoma. John Glenn went up on the space shuttle. That's what I thought. At the age of 77, to study the effects of aging in space. That's different from being a trophy PR soundbite for Amazon. Yeah, that was for real. Pamela M1ZKH. Good evening from Massachusetts. Domino Storm 1. After only 3 weeks of training with G4FON, I can copy 7 words per minute comfortably and can soldier through 10 words per minute. Okay, good. I like the G4FON trainer. It's got lots of options and works really well. Bendix switch is the common part to both. Okay, so that's what created the problem with the magnetos. In just 1 month, I added 50 plus CW contacts. If 10 states confirmed, CW has proven to be more rewarding than anything. It is. It is very rewarding. Guilty. And CW QSL cards are already arriving to my surprise. Jackhammer. Yeah, jackhammer. Okay. Well, shall we choose the winner? for tonight. I didn't get that many entries. So what that means is, I've been kind of mixing them up and all that here. So get them all lined up here. And I put a finger in the middle, and it's the one on the bottom. Ozzy G. Okay, W9QK in Winter Park, Florida. And he sends his QSL card. Says, hello, Dave. And he's got all the information I need. November giveaway, the phone number, and the mailing address. Okay, in Winter Park, Florida. Very good. Now, this will be used to address the box tomorrow. These, the rest of them, will go into the shred pile and will be shredded. So I don't keep records. I don't even keep a record of who wins. I'd have to go back and look at the video. So this is W9QK, who wins this prize. And I've already got a number of entries for the December prize. And the December prize is the Zygo X5105. I think that's the right thing. Okay, so I've got to find the box for that. I've got the box. There's a couple little accessories that go with it. And that has the battery in it already. That has a battery that you can use that's inside. The G90 seems to have overtaken it in popularity. But I'm going to keep my G90. I'm going to keep that one. So that's my motorhome one. I'll be trying to do something with it down in Quartzsite. Okay, so we've got the winner. Now, congratulations to Ozzy. And I think it's wonderful. Congratulations. Very good, Ozzy. So we've done our drawing. Now, how do you enter? You send me an envelope with your return address up here, whatever, but send it to Dave Casler, KE0OG, P.O. Box 98, Ridgeway, no E, Ridgeway, Colorado, 81432. Now, you can send a postcard, you can send a QSL card, you can send a single sheet of paper in an envelope, okay? Making them thicker doesn't help, but just what I need from you is your name and call sign. You need to have a call sign, and your mailing address that you would want it mailed to. That may be different from your QSL address, I don't know. And I need your phone number in case I have to call you about any shipping types of things. I do not need your email address, just that. And send that to me. It needs to be to me in the pile by the last day of December. So that means send it early, okay? As it turns out, today is the first day of December, and if anybody mailed anything like in the last couple days, it will not have got here in time. So make sure that you get that in the mail if that's something you want. Don't enter if it's not something you want, because you might get stuck with it. So. Okay, so very good, and congratulations, Ozzy. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Let's see. Expect you know David Adair. Any comments regarding his life or objectives? I do not know him at all. I'm sorry. Are you using a straight key? I use a straight key. This is the one from the reference station. And so I got it too, so I'd have it. My favorite key is the J38, but this is far less expensive, and comes from, it's an MFJ 566M, or you can go directly to CW Morse. Says that right down there. Let's see if I can get the light right on that. No, CW Morse. Anyway, and they have a lot more variety of these things here. And it started out as a project between a father and a son to see if they could 3D print a decent Morse key. And as it turned out, they could. And so that's what this is right here. And it's $40, something like that. It's not very expensive. And they work really well. I mean, they've got the right dimensions and everything to be used for a significant period of time. And they're pretty sturdy, they'll last. Of course, the best key, in my opinion, is the J38, the World War II key. There are variations on that, and other lots of keys out there. You can spend $500 on a key if you want to. I don't think you'll find it's any better of a key than something like this. I really don't. Okay, David Adair. No, there was a Red Adair that used to put out petroleum fires. GL, good evening. N6GML from Sacramento. Chris Christie, hello, sir, from Florida. Wildcat is my handle, and I am a CBer and I'm working on my ticket. Okay, very good. And you will discover, as you get into ham radio, that the vernacular is different. In ham radio, we would say, my name is, and still use the idea of a ticket, but I think more common is just to say license. But I'm glad that you're doing it, which means you're working on your technician license. And as you go through that and go through the videos that I put together for that, I think you'll find a very rich world awaiting you of the many, many things you can do with ham radio. Of course, in CB, you can jabber with people, but in ham radio, you can do that too, but with people at a far larger distance. So, very good, and welcome. I got an original interest peaked through CB when I was a teenager, and I finally got my ham license in college as a senior. So, a long period of time in there. Okay, James, Chris Christie, keep up the study. You can definitely accomplish that goal. Oh, absolutely you can. Tommy Helton, KQ4AHR. Well, it's time for me to take my meds and get ready for bed. 73 and good night, all from Alabama. Chris Christie, thank you, James. M. McBride, 56. What about questions we entered on your contact page? That is an interesting question. That email didn't always work, and I'm going to change it so that when you come in through the contact page, you actually go to Ask Dave, all one word, ASKDAVE, at ARRL.org, not .net, .org. Okay, that's my official address at the League, and all those messages are forwarded to me. And I pick through them. If I can answer something with a yes or a no, I'll do that. Sometimes I'll just give you a quick answer, but then, like there was one guy I gave a quick answer to, but then turned it into an item for the February column of Ask Dave, and just set that into the League yesterday. And sometimes I'll do a video about it. And I try to get my assistant, Aiden, to send an email to anybody whose question has been addressed in a video so that they know that it's coming. I do go through, let me just see here, I'm going to do Gmail, and I'm going to put a little one in there. It changes the URL completely. I have 1,339 emails in that contact box. And I do go through those to find questions. If you have asked a question in there and it has not been answered, please resend the question to askdave@arrl.org. Okay? And I'll try and get something to you. I apologize for the mess up on that contact page. I should mention that I had to delete a website. I had mountsneffelspress.com, which is actually my business entity. So if you put something like a tip in the tip jar, you'll see it come back to you from PayPal or Mount Sneffels Press. That's my business entity. I started publishing books on flying broomsticks. Boy, that didn't go very far. And then I pivoted to YouTube, and I pivoted from the motorcycle videos to the ham radio. Okay, but that's still my business entity. So what do I publish? I publish videos. Okay, and somewhere in there it says Mount Sneffels Press. I had to let that website go because it was getting hacked. The Jumpline, which is my hosting company, just was no help with the hacking. They're terrible. So finally, I went up to my URL provider and put in a redirect for Mount Sneffels over to dcasler.com. And then I also killed the two name servers that pointed at Jumpline, and to put a holding website in there. And then Dave at mountsneffelspress.com gets transferred over to my real email account. And I did that with some regret, but I haven't used that website in years. So even though it's a website that is under the name of my business entity, and I have registered that trademark and trade name and all that stuff with the Colorado Secretary of State. And I was sad to let it go, but it'll save me about $90 a year. I've had that website for a very long time, but you know, all things come to an end. I get a lot of promotion offers, like here's one. This is an invitation to cooperate with Team Cherry in promoting our product on YouTube. Our game development team is known for writing such game series as Hollow Knight. Now a new installment of it's on the way. Hollow Knight Silskong. What am I doing promoting a video game? Maybe if they had a video game that helped people learn ham radio, I'd take a look at it. But I'm going to change that back to my real email. So, yeah, I apologize for that mess, and I'm going to try and clean it up. But if you sent me something and it has not been answered, please send it to askdave@arrl.org, not .net. Okay? So I hope that will help. And with that, let's see, let's go back to live streaming. Okay. What about the question? Yeah, okay, that answers the questions on that. Would you recommend the G90 over the FT891, FT818, or the IC705? No, I would not. The G90 is not cheap. I'd get the ICOM 705 if that's what you want. I actually usually recommend that newcomers to HF get a 100-watt radio because that will make it so much easier. I mean, QRP is a sub-hobby that's very interesting, and I've done a lot of it myself. But it's a lot easier to do if you're already used to how HF works. So I'd recommend the 100-watt radio. Yeah, the ICOM 7300 is the currently recommended radio. I have a so-called reference station where I set up, if we go up here and look at this, we go over to decasler.com/reference. Okay, and what comes up here is what's called a reference station. It's a reference design. It lists, starting here, reference station for general and amateur extra. It lists a complete station, all the different parts and pieces that you need. Okay, and the HF radio is the ICOM 7300. I have videos for a number of these. You can go see the video. If you were to buy this entire bill of materials, you could put up a very nice station that you would be happy with for a very long time, years. Okay, it's a station you'll be happy with. Now, there are some people who just buy the reference station from whatever vendor you want, and I don't get a kickback. Okay, but maybe you would prefer the FT710 as your radio, or maybe you like the Kenwood, or maybe you want something else, you know, an FT991. Hey, go ahead, sure. Now, however, there's a caveat. And the caveat is this: anytime I make a video about operating on HF, I will do it using the reference station. Okay, and that is, you know, the station I referred to. So that's something I'd take a look at there. Dave, I know novices had to pass 5 words per minute, then 13 for general, or lose your novice after 1 year. But what was the old technician requirement? It was 5 words a minute. And we're talking old technician. Back when all technician licenses required the 5 words per minute plus the same test that was given to the general class operators. You get your technician. And then the Morse code requirement was dropped back to 5 words per minute for everything. Then the novice license was dropped. Then they dropped code entirely. And so now we've got tech, general, and extra. There are still novices. There's about 9,000 novices left in the U.S. Now, the novice license is now good for 10 years. It used to be good just for 1 non-renewable, and then it was 2 and non-renewable. And then it became good for 5 years and it was renewable. And now it's 10 years and renewable. Okay, now it has been longer than 10 years since the novice license was eliminated, which means every current novice licensee has to have renewed their ticket, novice to novice. Okay, I do not know why, but some people just don't want to give up on it, and that's fine. Novices can use CW on HF. They can use voice on a couple of the VHF bands, including 2 meters and 6 meters. No, 2 meters, novices. Novices. Here's my chart. I had my chart out just the other day. Let's look at it in here. Novices have voice privileges on 10 meters, 220, and 1240. Okay. for those who are left, you can't get a new novice license. You can renew it forever. The same with the advanced class license. You can't get a new one, but you can renew them forever. So everybody who currently has an advanced class license has renewed it at least once. Okay, because you can renew forever. I was an advanced class licensee for over 20 years. And then I was working with some kids, and there was this one kid who was 17, and he looked like he was going to beat me to extra. And I said, I'm not going to let a teenager beat me to extra, so I buckled down and studied and got my extra. So, let's see. Have you got a bug? I've got one right here. I'm going to do a video on this, but I haven't done it yet. But this is the bug. This is the Vibraplex bug. You can see the nameplate in there. It is a marvel of mechanical engineering. I'm going to do a video about that. Okay, Leo Gustafsson lives very near Adair, Oregon. Don N5SKT. The tech was a 50-question written test. That's what I remember. Well, that was because it was the identical test to the general. They changed everything. They made tech the introductory license, which it was not. It was just a license primarily for experimenters. And for those who like to do radio-controlled airplanes, the 6 meters worked really well for that. I got an email confirmation stating the question would be answered on a future live stream. Oh, that's the standard confirmation, yeah. Send me that question again, please. Maybe what we need is a bit more CB vernacular and amateur radio. Breaker 19. This here's the rubber duck. You got a copy on me, Pigpen. I think we can do without that. CQ on 11 meters. I guess people do that now. They took away a lot of the restrictions because nobody was obeying them. Do radial wires for vertical antennas, such as a Hustler 6 BTV, all need to be the same gauge? No. Do they need to be the same length? No. Do they have to go out perfectly radially? No. Just get something out there. Okay? 20 feet's fine for radial. You can go 30 if you want. A lot of mine are 25. They don't need to be the same gauge. You can, in fact, there's so little current. If you have 30 radials, the amount of current that goes up the vertical goes out the total of 16 radials, which means each radial gets 1/16 of the current. So they don't need to be very big. But I would recommend, based on my experience, that you put in insulated radials. Okay, they are not part of your grounding system. They're part of the counterpoise for the antenna. And if you try to couple them to ground, you're trying to do two things with one wire. If you want to put a ground rod in, put it right at the antenna, and then connect the shield side of the coax to the ground and the radials, and then the center part of the coax to the vertical part. You'll find that that actually is an impedance mismatch because that vertical will be about 30 ohms. Now you could put a little balun. No, I'm sorry, unun. You put an unun in there and actually take it from 50 to 30 would help you get a little bit better SWR on that. Okay, so book apart from the league. I found the test was easier than I thought. It is. Keep up the studying. Mostly what you get in the tech is nomenclature, things to remember the names of. The purpose of the tech test is, one, for you to know that there are some things it's illegal to do. And number two, to keep you from killing yourself. Okay, just the basic electronics so that you will have enough intuition that it can help you keep yourself out of a bad situation. We should note that only radio amateurs are allowed to design, build, and use their own equipment on the air. You can't do that in any other radio service. Not in any other radio service. You've got special comm people who do that. But in ham radio, you can do that. That's why you can build a QRP kit and put it on the air. Because you have that ability to do that. Okay, Chris Wilson, Dave, any comments on the new SBITX? Yes, I'd love to have one, but what he wants people to do is to build one from scratch. And I'm going, no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm a kit builder. I'm not a builder from scratch. It's supposed to be a pretty nice radio, but it's expensive now. It's getting up in the $400 region. Leo, wasn't that Big Ben's? Let's see, Ben, I see your Casler website is still on the internet. Yes, it is. The graphics are a bit outdated. Yeah, they are. They're 2010. It's the 2010 theme. But compared to most personal websites by amateur radio operators, it's actually pretty modern. I've looked at all their standard themes, they call them, themes, since then, and I haven't found one as clean and crisp as the 2010 one. Yeah, I know it's out of date. Another thing that's really out of date are the intro and outro on my videos. Those graphics are ugly. And, it's been more than 10 years, and I'm going to go through a house cleaning of the graphics. We're going to use more modern fonts, more reasonable, more professional fonts, and stuff like that. And I hate to do this, but I'm going to change the theme music. It drives my wife nuts. It's kind of unusual. It's New Orleans jazz. I really like that song, but it's time to move on to something, I don't know, a little more professional, I guess. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, the graphics are definitely outdated. I always wondered if it was Big Ben or Pigpen. With the reference in the end of the song to the odor of the pigs, I assume it's the latter. Could be. Advertisers stay away from Kamikoto knives, established titles. Oh, I've seen people do this established titles things. Deal dash, dodgy company with unethical practices. Yeah, the whole established titles thing is a joke. What is the difference between extra and advanced? In the old days, the amateur advanced was the tough license to get. And the privileges between advanced and extra are not that great. The extra, the thing that they added was the volunteer examiner stuff, some satellite stuff, I think, and it wasn't that much. It wasn't that much of a change. Now the extra test is the tough one. And so a lot of advanced who want to go to extra realize they've got to take the tough test all over again. Oh, well, that's the way it is. But that was the difference. Novice equals techno. No, the novice privileges were rolled into the technician privileges. So the tech can use the old novice privileges in addition to all of VHF and UHF and microwave. So the novice was kind of put away. The tech was changed to be the entry-level license, and the requirements to get into it were dramatically lowered. Because by this time, handy-talkies and stuff like that was becoming very popular. It used to be back in the old days, when I first got my license, that you had to have a fair amount of technical knowledge to be a tech, and you probably made your own equipment. So that's no longer true because if you want a real cheap transmitter, you can get that GT5R from Radioddity, which is the UV5R that's had its RF section fixed. Okay, I think the email I got came from Ham Radio Answers. I just asked here as it was a simple question. I sold my Jeep, making my mobile FTM 350 my home radio. I have a tri-band mobile antenna. Very good. James, advanced now equals general if the license expires and retest with the technician test. Yes, that is true. You do not get your advanced back because the advanced is no longer a license that is available. The old ones are grandfathered in, but if you let it go, you let it go. So if your advance has expired and you're out of the grace period, you can take the tech and have your general restored to you. Okay, so yeah, I know, it's weird. You would think that because the advanced license was really a lot more similar to the extra than the general. But can I mount the antennas on a mast without radials? You have to create some sort of a counterpoise for it. For example, if you put a quarter wave 2 meter vertical, you need to put on there some, 4 will do it. 4, it's actually the counterpoise for it. You need to put that on there for it to have something to work against. If you have an antenna that requires radials, like an HF9V, and you want to elevate it, then you have to put in resonant radials, 2 for each band, opposite of each other. Or if you put it on the ground, you can just put out a bunch of radials that don't have to be tuned. Okay. So it depends on the type of antenna that we're looking at here. If you have a tri-band mobile antenna, you're missing the fact that it has the metal on the roof as the counterpoise. So what you can do is just put some radials out from it. Bend the radials down like this so you're closer to 50 ohms than 30. But you can put out like just the 2 meter radials, so it'd be 19 inches each. It's not that big. Then you can put that thing up there. Okay, I was a novice, then became a technician via grandfather. No, you had to pass a tech test to get that from the novice. Anyway, I tested for general a few years ago to clear up my status. Yes. They had some weirdisms in there for a while. Canada still has advanced, equivalent to US Extra. Got my advanced earlier this year. Congratulations. My DX Commander arrived today. Great. I think their instruction manual has greatly improved. And you should have no trouble putting it together. Just arrived while I was at work. Great, you can put that together. That antenna works as well as any vertical, and it is a lot cheaper. You get what you paid for. It's pretty flimsy. It is designed to be something you can take down fairly quickly, collapse it on itself, throw it in the back of the truck, and then put it up at a portable site. James KI50EB just arrived while I'm at work. Oh, that was the ex-commander. Dave, is there an ICOM 7851 in your future? Probably not. And I'll tell you why. First of all, I've used the ICOM 7610, and that is a very, very, very nice radio. I've got the 7300 here. I took my Yaesu FTDX 3000 and put it right up there on the shelf. Okay, that is a better radio than the 7300. But I'm talking to people about what kind of stations to put together and so on. And I figure I ought to have that station and not something fancier. I don't consider the FTDX 3000 to be a beginner's rig. The 7300 can be a beginner's rig. It's a little bit of a challenge at first. But like a camera, you can put it in point and shoot mode and just use it, okay? And then as you learn what the settings do, you can get deeper and deeper and deeper into it. It really is a very nice radio. So that's why I don't see a big fancy radio in my future, because it wouldn't help me make the YouTube videos. So my target market are those who are just getting into HF or been in HF a little while and are trying to improve and so on. So I kind of pick up where the technician training leaves off. Although I do have my technician training videos, but I pick up where they take off. We are well over time. My apologies. No, keep the music. Keep it. All right. Have you heard anything about a new 8-meter band in the U.S.? No. I like the walking man that makes appearance. All right. Unlike the music. Don't like the music. Okay. Now you can get a new theme song that's even more annoying. No, don't take its music out. Need to take a test for work and then I can upgrade. There's little order in my new world. I hold a general license, get mechanical encryption devices. Don't. Encryption is illegal on the ham rep bands in the United States. That is not true in Canada, for example. It's not true other places, but in the United States, covering up the meaning of your transmission is illegal. Don't do it. Even though the Chinese radios come with a scrambling feature. It's illegal in the U.S., okay. Do you want us to commission a rap song? There you go. I think the theme music is great. I'll miss it. Okay, McCain. Oh, not a rotor machine. Rotor machines are crackable very easily. The rotor machines create a pattern that can be easily decrypted these days with computers. Now, digital, you can emulate the rotors in digital. Setting aside the power difference, what is better is the 7300 compared to the G90? Far better construction, far better filters, a lot more power, a better user interface. Where do I stop? I mean, everything about it is. The G90 is a cute Chinese radio that does HF. It's not anything anywhere near competing with the Japanese. My opinion is kind of false advertising referred to as DX Commander. Yeah, it's a vertical. I like the music. Thank you. Will radios touching on a DX Commander detune the bands? You better put in radios on that DX Commander. You have to. Do it according to the instructions. They should give you some wire to make radials out of. 73, ICAM 73, much more sophisticated. Yes, it's illegal. But it's good to know the way. Well, you know, some people, I have learned a lot about encryption. Oh, you can't do it in Canada either. Okay, thank you. 7300, better touch screen. Rotor machines can't be cracked. Have you ever heard of the Enigma? The Enigma was a rotor machine. It was cracked by the Polish before World War II. And they gave their findings to the British. And they went from there. Those rotor machines are definitely crackable. So, Dave, do a video of you making a CW contact. We'd love to see you copy. Yes, okay. We can encrypt. Just must make the encryption public, yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of do that like with Packet or something like that. Okay, we are grossly over time. I apologize for that. So thank you all very, very much. And I really enjoy getting together with you guys. We only made $20 in chat revenue this transmission, but it's close to Christmas and you need to spend that money on your family. So do that. So until we next meet, 73.